Minestrone soup, in my personal opinion, is one that really doesn't need a recipe. So today I'm going to show you how to whip up some minestrone soup in your crock pot. The first thing you're going to need are beans. Now traditionally you can use kidney beans or great white northern beans, but I like this 13 bean soup mix. I personally like the variety, and I really like the fact that it has lentils. Now with all beans, you're going to give them a good rinse. They tend to be sometimes on, the dirty, dusty side, plus there's always some mystery debris in the bean mix, so give them a nice rinse. Once you've done that, add the beans to your crock pot. Now, if you can, cook the beans for a few hours on high heat before you add the veggies. Or if you can't do that, soak them overnight, and then that way the beans get a head start because they take much longer to cook than the vegetables will. I like to add this vegetable base. Traditionally, minestrone soup is a vegetarian soup, but of course you could add some chicken stock or chicken base as well. It's completely up to you. Just use whatever you have on hand. So mix that in. As far as the vegetables go, there are some minestrone basics, but just use what you have or what you don't have. You don't have to make an extra special trip to the store. Here I have onion, garlic. I love zucchini in minestrone soup. For me, personally, that's what makes it. I've got celery, carrots, I just happen to have these remaining baby carrots, and then green beans. You could use fresh, you could use frozen, really, you can use anything you want. Same with the tomatoes. If you have fresh tomatoes, go for it, use those, they'd be fantastic. But tomatoes are pretty out of season here, so I've got some diced tomatoes and tomato sauce. As far as the spices and the seasonings go, I've been basil and oregano. I think those two are staples. Later I did add some thyme, and you'll see that in a moment. And then of course salt and pepper. Those are staples with any soup. Now for the onion and the carrot, chop them up however you like. Personally I like big onion chunks. And the carrots, you could use big carrots and julienne them, whatever you like. I cut up the celery like this, and I like to keep in the greens just because they add so much flavor. And the zucchini I cut on, the thicker side just so it kind of holds up a little bit better. Dump in your tomatoes. Again, fresh would be awesome if you had it. Not necessary though. And finally, I added my green beans. I probably should have cut them in half, but I was being lazy. Now, as far as the spices go, start with about 2 teaspoons of both basil and oregano. They really add so much flavor to the soup. And then the salt and pepper. Now, this depends on your base, how you like your soup. Start out with a little bit and then try it, as it's cooking or right before you serve it, and then add more or less depending on how it tastes. I ended up adding quite a bit more of both salt and pepper. Once you have all of your spices dumped in, go ahead and give it a nice mix. Get everything evenly distributed and ready to cook. It's honestly that, really truthfully, that simple. I'm cooking on low. If you wanted to cook it a lot faster, say the beans were already all the way cooked and you wanted it ready in maybe like 2 hours, you can go ahead and put it on high. And the same goes for that if you used canned beans. I just like to use dry because you can control them just a little bit better that way. Now, if you're home, you can give it a mix. If you're not, it's totally fine. It can sit for the 9 hours. You may be at work on low, just fine. I went and I got my CSA basket, and in it there was some thyme. So I went ahead and threw the thyme into my soup. If you have dried thyme, that'd be great. Fresh, you can stick it in just like this. Once your soup's been cooking for a while, about 20 or 30 minutes before you're ready to eat, you want to add your pasta. Traditionally, you use a shell pasta in a minestrone soup. However, I personally like to use this pasta because of the ingredients, and it's a penne. So I'll be using penne in my minestrone soup. On the same note of this pasta, it gets very mushy if it's left in liquid. So I like to cook it separate and then add it, later, right before we eat. The soup freezes great, it refrigerates great, you can eat it at a later date. Just know if you're using a pasta, like a rice pasta or something along those lines, it may mush a little easier. Of course, I'm removing my sticks because nobody wants to eat sticks from the thyme, and then adding my pasta to the bowls that already have the soup in it. So you add as much or as little as you like, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, if you like spicy, I would personally recommend a little habanero sauce or a little, just hot sauce to your soup, and you have to add at least Parmesan to the top. So anyways, that's it. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know if you have questions.